Hey everyone, hey wellness crew, and welcome to today's reading of The Gene Keys Golden Path, Love, A Guide to Your Venus Sequence by Richard Rudd. The 6 lines of your SQ, and again, your SQ is your spiritual quotient. If at any time you aren't sure about where we are in the readings, you can always go back to my older live streams and you can get caught up that way. As you contemplate the 6 lines of the SQ, you should know that you are looking at qualities of consciousness that the developing child needs. These qualities never change throughout our lives. They dictate our journey of seeking and motivate our mythic identity. They also happen to be universal themes that can be inspirational to us all. As with each sphere, you are recommended to read and contemplate each of the 6 lines. Line 1, certainty, rhythm, and routine. When a child comes into the world, from the moment the birth cord is cut, they are seeking this quality, certainty. We enter the world with the sense that there is now something missing. In the womb, it wasn't missing because there we were completely connected into the floating oneness of it all. The first line is always asking these same fundamental questions. Why am I here? What am I? The search for certainty is the epic human quest for answers to these deepest of questions. This is a cellular uncertainty that we carry from birth. If you have a first line SQ, then finding a sense of inner security will be your most fundamental issue in life. This deep genetic need for a sense of security will motivate your entire life. Of course, where this search takes you is another matter. It can take us up or it can take us down. What the developing child needs above all else is a strong sense of rhythm. Rhythm brings a sense of security because it connects us into the cyclic forces of nature and the universe. The rhythm of the seasons, the rhythm of the heartbeat, the rhythm of our daily activities, all these things are an oasis for the young child. You might like to consider the rhythms of your early childhood and whether they made you feel safe or uncertain. The young child is imprinted through repetition and routine. When we are older, we may find such things boring or relentless, but to a child in their first 7 years, there is nothing as important as a healthy life rhythm. If the young child is supported and buoyed by the healthy pulse of living rhythms, then when they mature, they will always carry this profound cellular memory that all is well in the world, even when the opposite appears to be the case. Our need for certainty can also take the route of fear. We can lock ourselves into routines that keep us from breathing and that throttle our creative spirit. We can become unconsciously obsessed with finding certainty, perhaps through a will to power or through a self-destructive tendency. We can fix our minds on certainty through a set of manufactured beliefs that keep us from being open-minded and flexible. We can become a victim of the details and drudgery of life, or we can become a workaholic and live in a state of denial. We seek these kinds of routines out of our deep fear of the uncertainty of life. If you have a first line SQ, You need to be aware that you will unconsciously seek certainty and security from others. This can put great pressure on your relationships. You need to look deeply into this habit of transferring your fear onto others. The only place you will ever find certainty is in your own heart. As adults, we continue to need rhythms in order to thrive. A life without natural rhythm is directionless and unable to support a process of nurturing. Of course, rhythms also change. Sometimes events occur that give birth to a completely new kind of rhythm. If you have a first line SQ, then such times can be really challenging for you, but they are also necessary. A healthy rhythm needs regular changes in tempo. The heart opens as you embrace the trials of your life and relationships and allow yourself to be transformed. Perhaps the most important rhythm of all is the changing beat of our evolution. Our Dharma provides a rhythm. Excuse me for that sound of construction in the background. I hope the mic isn't picking that up. Our Dharma provides a rhythm that inspires us to stretch, grow, adapt, expand, excel, and ultimately flourish. How goes the rhythm of your awakening? Line 2, freedom, wildness, and boundaries. The second line is always seeking freedom. You may recall the metaphor of your SQ as the yearning of the mythic traveler to come home. If you have a second line SQ, then your home is freedom. You can see how each of these lines holds a truth for us all. All human beings yearn for freedom. Your line, therefore, places a strong emphasis on this quality than all the others. And it also gives the gene key of your SQ a very particular flavor. Thank you so much for the like. I really appreciate that. When you look at the gene key of your SQ, think about it in terms of the quality you most need in order to feel free. This is the spirit that lies behind all the second line keynotes. Passion, dance, posture, brilliance, courtesy. These are all themes that either involve or inspire freedom. Thank you so much for the like. I really appreciate that. In the developing child, this freedom is an essential ingredient in their early upbringing. The young child needs to be free to explore their surroundings. If they are too restricted or cosseted, then they will never experience life's natural boundaries. So you can kind of think about this like telling a child not to put their hand near a fire, right? And letting them know, hey, don't put your hand near the fire. But there's some children that just need to kind of put their hand near the fire and get burned, right? Allowing them to learn their natural boundaries. We have these 7-year cycles that we go through and that we repeat in patterns throughout our life. So thinking of it like that, if you were that child that kind of needed to be burned, maybe you're that child that needed that freedom, that needed to kind of test things out. So this is kind of what that second line is a little bit about. Oh, and the example that I just used is right what he's about to say. That's so funny. Of course, this doesn't mean you let your child put his or her hand in the fire, but you might let him crawl up to it and feel it warm his skin. You will need to intervene if he looks like he is endangering himself, but it may also be that he will inherently figure it out for himself. This is the spirit that all children need, a healthy balance between freedom and boundaries. You can consider your own early upbringing. How was this balance? Was it lopsided in any way? Some parents do not give their children enough in the way of boundaries. Some parents simply neglect and ignore their children altogether. Many modern parents seem afraid to say no. And of course, there are those who fall on the other side. People who are so strict that the child is constantly unable to explore the world with a sense of freedom, but are always being punished simply for being the way they are. If your boundaries as a child were lacking, then later in life it is possible that your life may lack a solid sense of direction. The imprinting of our SQ is so deeply structured into our physicality that it tends to radiate out into all areas of later life. This can also bring a lack of boundaries into our later relationships, or indeed it may elicit a reaction where we become too controlling. The general pattern of the second line SQ in later life is frustration in their relationships. This frustration comes because the second line SQ is wired to seek freedom, and yet they are also designed for one-to-one relationships. The second line can be very intense because of this deep-seated need for freedom. Their dilemma is that they love intimacy, but still need to express the wildness of their true inner nature. This will involve some maturing. The second line will learn that true freedom is an inner state rather than an external requirement. You can be wild at heart and still deeply committed to another person, and you can be wild at heart and still live any kind of life in any kind of environment. The second line SQ teaches us all a powerful lesson that true love is inclusive. Love that depends upon a set of external conditions is not yet worthy of being called love. Our relationships can be a direct route towards inner freedom if we give ourselves to them 100%. Committed relationships offer us the ideal balance between boundaries and wildness. The relationship itself is the boundary. It provides the banks of the river, and the love is the wild, untamable river itself. Within the relationship, the flow of love will meet many obstacles, but over time, as our hearts open and soften, the river slows down and matures, just like our love. As we evolve more fully, we begin to access the unconditional love that beckons us from the ocean itself. As the river widens to a delta, so our hearts come to realize that without those banks and those boundaries, we never would have reached this place of ineffable peace and unity. Line 3, pleasure, adventure, and understanding. If you have come this far along the golden path, you may be developing a good intuitive feeling for each of the 6 lines as their themes run on from sphere to sphere. It might not come as a surprise that the third line at its core is therefore a lover of pleasure. This is the pleasure of life rather than pleasure as a distraction from life. The third line is by nature adventurous, changeable, even quixotic. Such people are the buccaneers of the inner planes. As young children, we float on the tides of life with a pleasure that is self-evident. As adults, we watch the young ones with a wistful eye. wishing perhaps that our lives could once again be that simple. To be able to draw pleasure from life is a rare and precious gift, and it is the great legacy of all third lines. These people remind us why we are alive. Their ability to keep going when others have long since given up hope is also a bolster to us all in difficult times. The developing child needs to feel from the people around him or her that life is indeed a joyous occasion. The child already feels this in every cell, but to have it confirmed by those around him reinforces the feeling, leading to a natural optimism that will stay with him for the rest of his life. Unfortunately, many children receive the opposite impression, that life is primarily hard and miserable. This leads to a deep doubting of the life force itself, which over time may well become a pessimistic outlook that also stays with us for the rest of our adult life. The sense of pessimism may be lodged down in the depths of our being so that we do not even realize its existence. However, whenever we meet an obstacle in life, we may give up on ourselves with startling ease. The third line is also vulnerable, perhaps more so than any of the other lines. It's interesting that the toughest can also be the most vulnerable. If you have a third line SQ, then you need to reawaken the childlike spirit in your nature. You can stop taking your life so seriously. Life is a grand adventure, and you are the great anti-hero or anti-heroine. This means to say that your life brings you adventures and challenges that may surprise you or shock you, but your attitude towards the events of your life is everything. Can you let go of the past? Can you dust yourself off, forgive, and try again? Adults so often forget the essential in life. We are so busy we forget even to look out the windows at the sky, the trees, the gifts that lie littered all around us. As a third line SQ, you of all people are an ecstatic. To be an ecstatic means to suck the marrow out of life, to make the most of each day, and to learn to distinguish the essential from the inessential. What is essential to joy? Human relationships are a primary essential. The third line SQ is here to learn the gift of understanding. Understanding another person takes time. It is neither linear nor logical. People are full of contradictions and idiosyncrasies. To love people, we have to let go of our expectations and take them exactly as they are. To understand someone, you have to listen to their heart, even beneath their suffering, and you have to let go of your personal agendas. For a third line to make a solid and lasting commitment to another person, it takes an act of utter dedication. It takes great courage and devotion to the path of heart, because the third line is so used to running. No matter which line you have or don't have, you can see how beautiful a thing your SQ is. And again, your SQ is your spiritual quotient. It dictates your natural sense of spirituality, your connection to life through your heart. Natural spirituality may have nothing to do with any system or religious beliefs. Your SQ runs beneath the world of ideas and structures. It responds to life through living relationships. your relationship to the open air, the sunshine, to those you love, to those you dislike. Your SQ allows for anything under the sun. It is the spirit of the eternal child within you. It is most definitely worthy of your deepest consideration and contemplation. Line 4, belonging, kinship, and community. If you have lived life to the fullest extent possible with a fourth line SQ, then when you die, your funeral will be attended by thousands of people wishing to pay their respects. It won't necessarily be your life that is remembered. It will be you. In your life, you will touch so many people. This is the fullest role of the human heart, to reach out and make the world a better place to live in. Once again, we must return to our childhood and remember what it is like to see the world through those early eyes. The young child lives in a state of natural trust. No matter who you are or whatever your past, the young child sees you as innocent. The fourth line SQ is accepting of others in this way. Unlike the third line, however, the fourth line will have a very different life journey. The fourth line unconsciously seeks a home through community, whether that is a gang in downtown LA or a team in a modern business corporation. The fourth line SQ thrives on consistency of contact and trust. When you contemplate your childhood, ask yourself whether you felt this sense of togetherness and community. Perhaps it was through your friendships or your extended family. The modern nuclear family can be difficult for the fourth line SQ, which needs as wide a communal framework as possible in order for deep trust in humanity to evolve. Whatever your upbringing was like, as an adult you are likely to go on looking for that sense of belonging. One of the dangers of the fourth line is that it may get stuck in a community or group that is not actually nourishing, but out of fear it may stay with the familiar. If you have a fourth line SQ, then you will have many relationships that all fulfill different roles and nourish different aspects of your psyche. However, you needn't expect all these people to get along together. The healthy, open-hearted fourth line SQ is likely to be very successful in the world in whatever they choose to do. This is because of the huge potential of their natural gift for networking. Being likable is a most fortunate trait when it comes to business. Indeed, being likable makes your life easier and more enjoyable in just about any sphere of life. When you contemplate the gene key of your SQ, consider these qualities as your primary networking gifts. Also consider how the shadow of the gene key of your SQ prevents your life from being so much easier and filled with grace. The fourth line is constantly searching for the place where they feel they belong. In their relationships, this can cause friction because they can place an unbalanced emphasis on their partner to fulfill their needs. If you have a fourth line SQ, then you must learn that a sense of belonging really comes from having an open heart. The home that we are unconsciously seeking through our SQ is inside us. You may recall that the fourth line purpose is about the breath. The fourth line SQ is a journey of deepening the breath. This cannot be forced through any external technique, but only comes about as we soften our hearts. As our breath moves deeper into the belly, so we become much calmer. The fourth line SQ has a most serene and relaxed countenance, which is why it is so easy to like them, because they have the gift of making you feel at home, as well as making you feel like you belong. In this way, the fourth line SQ is the epitome of a relaxed and welcoming heart and hearth. I believe that mine is the fourth line. I mean, I'm a 4/6, but I believe that for this it is a line 4. I'm gonna have to double check my hologenetic profile. I don't have it memorized. I should, but there's 3 different ones that you need to look at, or that you get once you go onto the genekeys.com. So I should have them memorized, but I don't. Line 5, mentoring. Role models with integrity. The fifth line SQ is destined for greatness. The theme of life's true mythology is the victory of love over fear. Every time you see a fifth line in someone's profile, you are seeing an aspect of consciousness that has the capacity to exhibit great power in the world. If you have a fifth line in your profile, you can contemplate how that quality might one day become a beacon for others. And at the shadow frequency, you can also contemplate how that quality could lead to a loss of power in some way. The fifth line SQ, however, conveys a spirit of awe, not as an arrogant quality to be flaunted, but as a quotient of the grand interconnectedness of all being. And the fifth line has the qualities necessary to translate this numinous view of life into everyday language so that it is accessible to all. This is the potential of the fifth line, to make love real in the world. As a young child, we all need role models to look up to. In our first 7 years, when the physical body is paramount, these need to be living, breathing people that we have regular interaction with. Later on in our childhood, often our role models become mental and emotional in nature, and we project our longing onto an external hero or heroine with whom we feel a resonance. But in our early development cycle, the role model we look for is one who exudes love and wisdom. Our primary role model during this phase is our mother, who will hopefully fulfill our ideal of unconditional love. Thank you so much for the like. I really appreciate that. There are also often other role models in our early years, and the fifth line in particular needs this. This can be a loving father, grandparent, uncle, or aunt, or someone who shows a particular interest in you. This special relationship may have a kind of mentor quality to it, as though the relationship is an oasis that you can. The role models in our early years become imprinted in our psyche as a kind of inner demon, which we will carry with us throughout our childhood. A great deal, therefore, depends upon the integrity of the role model. With the fifth line SQ, you could take one of 2 directions in life: the journey of love or the journey of power. If you take the latter, then you will consistently feel that you deserve more than you have, and the quest for wealth or fame or fortune may dominate your life over and above the quest for love. On the other hand, the journey towards love may also lead you to a position of power or authority, but with one great difference. You will use your position to serve the greater good, rather than to serve your own lack of self love. The shadow of the fifth line drives it to seek power in the external world, because they were not wholly nourished as children. The beauty of a fifth line SQ is its practicality. It can use anything as a means of spreading goodwill. The healthy fifth line SQ radiates a combination of love and wisdom. If you have a fifth line, then in time you may become a role model or mentor for others younger than yourself. It is up to you to pass on those values and virtues to others. Of all the lines of the SQ, the fifth line has the capacity to spread the highest frequencies the furthest. You can contemplate the city of your SQ and imagine how needed and powerful a quality that may be in our current world. Once you have caught the essence, you can go about the business of making it happen. Line 6, patience, time, and space. We complete our journey through the SQ with the sixth line and its primary theme of patience. The sixth line is the most mysterious and hidden of the lines. Like an iceberg, it carries the majority of its weight beneath the surface. There is a specific destiny written into every child that comes into the world. Your hologenetic profile gives a clue as to the nature of this higher purpose. As we journey through each of the six lines, we are seeing the universal themes that are then translated and filtered through the 64 gene keys, the codes that carry our mythic identities. We have seen repeatedly that the sixth line carries a vision into the world. In the case of the SQ, this is a vision that is always ahead of its time. People with a sixth line SQ are like the custodians of our common future. They have the potential to unify the rest of us. They carry a code that places all the other lines and their themes into a universal holographic context. The sixth line SQ is the most commonly misunderstood child. Unless they have an unusually sensitive and loving parent or parents, then these children may never get their deep needs met. Their deepest need is for time and space to develop without interference. These children may develop at a different pace from their peers. They may also display unusual characteristics. They need to be considered in a different way from other children. This is not because they are more special than anyone else, but because the rhythm of their development is unusual and different. Later in their lives, people with this sixth line SQ may go off at all kinds of tangents in life. What such children need is the quality of patience from their parents and peers. Patience is a field of trust that instantly puts a young child at ease. In our modern world, we often lack this timeless quality because we have created a synthetic system that is insensitive to the incarnating child. To be given time and space and to grow up with unworried parents is a precious gift. The sixth line SQ contains a living transmission of love that will, when if it is given enough time, space, and patience. If the sixth line is rushed, pushed, or pressured, then they may never move through the transformations that they need in life. It is easy for such people to give up on themselves and compromise their dreams in life. The greater dream always lives hidden in the hearts of these people. It is the dream of a better world. The paradox of the six lines dream is that they do not know how to enact it. They feel it always unless they succumb to the collective shadow frequencies, but how to bring it into form. The answer to the above question is patience. The dream will emerge in its own time, in its own way. The secret is not to interfere with your own process. You don't need to speed it up or slow it down. Nature knows best. As a sixth line SQ, you do not have to spend your life trying to understand everything. You may do that because you don't feel the depth inside yourself, so you must take heart and know that the answers are inside you. In time, something extraordinary will emerge from you, as sure as the butterfly will emerge from the cocoon. Contemplating your SQ, the art of physical contemplation. When you contemplate your SQ, you are bringing your attention to the heart of the Venus sequence. You may be triggering a sleeping giant within. Represented by the archetype of Venus, your SQ is a hub of pure potentiality within your breast. As you bring your attention to this point, allow your contemplation to move much deeper into areas where the mind simply cannot follow. Even your emotions cannot follow you this deep down the well. This is the physical domain. Your body really does contain physical codes, and love is awakened as we activate those codes through deep contemplation on this sphere. You can begin by thinking about the gene key of your SQ and its line. Then allow yourself to go deeper than the mind and turn your attention to the essence. Consider the shadow of the gene key of your SQ. Understand that it was not your fault that your childhood was not perfect. It was no one's fault. It was all a part of the plan. Out of adversity comes forth sweetness and great strength. Out of your SQ springs forth the gentle fire of your love. The purity of your heart is always present as an essence in your chest. It emerges as your breath falls deeply into your belly, when you soften the muscles of your face into a natural smile, when you breathe into the sacred wound that you carry. As your awareness comes more deeply into your body, and particularly into your belly, you will come into touch with your own deep well of suffering. On the other side of that suffering, just a hair's breadth away, is your love. We have to learn to hold both the pain and the love. We have to learn to be grateful for our life and for our relationships. Our relationships offer us the greatest path of transformation. You can always overcome a difficult childhood. That is the lesson that every relationship teaches us. Lost my place for a second. When we view each relationship as a treasure, no matter how hard it is, then we are on track for triggering the great love inside. Physical contemplation makes the whole golden path so much easier. You no longer have to worry about understanding any of this knowledge. You just let it in. You allow it to percolate. You give it time. You breathe in the insights that inspire you, and you let go of your need to be anywhere other than where you are right now in this moment. In the wonderful words of Mother Julian, who discovered the depths of her SQ, all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Thank you so much for joining me for today's live stream on the Gene Keys Golden Path Love, a guide to your Venus sequence. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and or join one of the membership tiers as it is popping off with content. And I'll see you on the next video or live stream. Be well, stay wild as well.